Hi, writers. Today is the day. It's our last lesson on poetry, and the lesson is all in the cover. So, what does that mean? Let's begin. Writers, you have been working on rewriting your 3 poems this week. Today, we are going to talk about producing the just right cover for our poetry books. What does the cover need to include? Do your poems have a common theme? When I mean theme, I noticed that when a couple of you were sharing your poems with me last week, 3 of you guys had been writing poems about your dogs. And I realized that that's a common theme, which means it's the same topic. Not the same pet, but the theme or the topic was dogs. You had poems about dogs. So, what does the cover need to include? Covers need to include a title, which is the name of the book, the author and illustrator's name. If you are, of course, you're writing your poems, but if you're also drawing your pictures, you are also the illustrator to your poetry book. And you need to have a graphic or a picture of some sort on the cover. You want to make sure that this picture, that your cover is eye-catching to the one who wants to read your book. Remember, you look at the covers usually and you think, do I want to read this book or not? So you want to catch your reader's eye. So let's look at some examples of these covers. So the first two here are of, get those, one of my favorite poets, Shel Silverstein. He is the author and the illustrator of his books. I think his illustrations are interesting. I think they're silly. His poems are silly as well. So they're really fun poems. So for me, when I see this book, I'm thinking like, yeah, like I want to read this book. It looks funny. The titles, I'm noticing with the titles. This one is called Falling Up, and I'm thinking, how do you fall up? It's interesting. Now I mentioned about the dogs being the theme. In here you see that there is a poetry book about dogs, and this has different types of poems about dogs. So they chose to put dogs on the top of their cover. But then Shel Silverstein's books are a little bit different because not all the poems are about a certain topic. They're different ideas. So he kind of came up with just creative titles, like how he has Falling Up, but then he also has Where the Sidewalk Ends. They're just kind of interesting, kind of silly titles to match his type of writing. We have another example of Roald Dahl, which is our author for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he too has created a poetry book. You might have seen the one below, which is of the cat poems, and you might have seen that in our epic series of poetry. And that poem book was all about cats. So I could almost create a poem, a poetry book about cats as well, with Kiki being all the different types of poems I created about her. And then here's another one that's called All the Wild Wonders. And it's about different ideas and different places on Earth. So we see how these covers can have different looks, different themes, different ideas. So right now be thinking about what would be a good title, what would be a good cover, a good picture to put on your poetry books. So that is your job for today. Now there's one more thing I want to show you. It's called a dedication page. Many authors include a dedication page right after they put their title page. So it'll be their first title page, and then the next page, the first page in their book, will be this dedication page. It is optional. That means you can do it or you don't have to do it. It's up to you. But what a dedication page is, it's like a shout out to someone who's helped inspire you to create your published book. So for an example, we see this one's kind of silly. It says, for mom who calls me pickle and dad who calls me dude. So this was inside of a book because this author had said, they inspired me to maybe create this book and these are the names they give me. This one is the Pete the Cat books, and the parents or the mom, basically she did a dedication page for her kids, to her kids, because they helped give her inspiration to write her books. So we see how you can do a dedication page. If you choose to do one, that's great. If you choose not to, that's okay too. It's up to you because you are the author of your book. So let's go through our quick checklist of what your cover needs to include. You need to make sure you have a title page. You need to make sure that you have an author and illustrator section. And then it needs to be an eye-catching cover. And then once again, the dedication page is optional. And then most important of all, friends, don't forget to take your time. Um, don't rush through it. Make sure you have a really, really amazing cover to go along with all your amazing poems. And then be ready to share at your next Zoom session with your class. You'll be sharing your published books, our mini celebration, okay? So have a great day, friends, and let's get finishing of our published books.